we are live and in colour. Say hello, Kitakazi.
And how are you doing, Gauss?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Late night for me tonight. I decided to cast a game at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's pretty bold of you considering the time of day, but thank you for having me on. Yeah, it's pretty bold of you considering the time of day, but thank you for having me on. Yeah, it's pretty bold.
Yeah, no worries. Always a pleasure. I've just realised I hadn't actually muted the audio on my stream, so I was getting a weird ghost after effect here. Look at me proud lads. Look at me proud lads.
All decked out nice in royal purple, too.
Yeah, well, purple is a very flattering colour for an orc. So, this was a post-season punch-up game. I started on the attack, so I'm going to switch around to face as though I am playing. I'll switch around for the second half, obviously. So my aim going into this was development to an extent, but also just kind of, I suck at winning games, so it was kind of a thing of, I really wanted to win. Had a game plan going in. I'd like to say I executed it quite well. It was a bit scrappy in places, but all the best Blood Bowl games are.
Absolutely. Are you finding orcs a little bit more to your liking, or are you kind of missing the human life?
I think I actually prefer the orcs. Now that I've gotten the hang of them being a bit slower, because they are pretty slow. Yeah, I think I prefer the orcs. I prefer being able to bash things. So
it is always nice to have that option.
Yeah. So as you can see, I got a quick snap to start with, which is kind of like a okay, that's fine. I'll just move my thrower a bit closer. Close up the gaps a little bit.
Yeah, I did notice that the elf team is setting up in kind of a semi-standard formation in the back, just kind of letting you choose which side you want to go on.
Yeah, it's pretty much what I was expecting. My brother insists that I should secure the ball as quickly as possible, but to my mind, if I fail the pickup and don't have anything in place or anyone on the deck, then against a team like Elves or something like that, I'm probably going to get punished for it, especially when you've got an AV up guy who can just Agi up guy rather, who can just dive through everything and be highly annoying. You'll see him, he's up on the top right here. Svervith L. Goodling Splat. BT Hagen's team have got some of the most ridiculous names I've ever seen. I don't know if you can see these. And then there's just randomly one called Dan Smith, just to make things just more bizarre.
Well, us Blood Bowl coaches never had, or always had some good creativity, I should say, and his elf team is not disappointing one bit. Good removal to start, too, with the KO, so that's never a bad sign.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Crumteeth has been a bit of a champion lately, although I did have a friendly against Dimmy where he didn't perform particularly well, so I'm hoping that's out of his system before tomorrow.
I suppose we'll have to see, because I think he's carrying one of the, since I think it's half and half now, EU coaches in American,
yeah.
Carrying one half of the EU pride with it.
Yeah, it's EU versus EU for this one. BT Hagen is an American, so we played at a very funny time. The reason I couldn't record is because I had to dash off to work immediately afterwards. I literally finished with about a minute to spare. So it was a good call, really.
You know, kind of thinking, cycling back to your brother's point about picking up quickly, I do understand that with the Elves, but I'm wondering if he's also forgetting that you have a thrower that does have sure hands. That does make the pickup a lot easier.
Yeah, although I would say that failing pickups is kind of my thing. So I've had good old Bad Mad there fail a pickup 3 times in a row with the safe hands reroll, so wasting 3 turns, and we go double skulls. I don't know if you're in sync with me or not, but
Yep, I am.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun time when that happens.
Yeah, so far liking the positioning, and I'm sure another orc coach could probably give you a little bit better insight on it, but I mean, you're screening off the elves that are still standing, and you've already got a pretty solid cage going.
Yeah, and in fairness, his dodge rolls ain't great. I mean, he's already failed a dodge. This is This is one of my favourite techniques. Clud just fouls everyone until he gets sent off. It's just what happens. And inducements-wise, because I was quite a bit behind in TV, I took a bribe for this one and babes. And we'll see how useful they were this game.
Well, I can already tell you're getting some good use out of the bribe if you're going to be fouling every single turn and then some.
I don't think it's quite every turn, but it's most of them. It's what he's there for. He's a lino.
Next, you'll just have to pick up a sneaky git, and we'll be even more in business with those foul games.
Yeah, and then I can get murdered by admins. 'Cause I ain't sneaking it. See, there we go. Another failed dodge.
The other thing about High Elves, not too good with skills to begin with, so
No.
not having dodge early on like some of the Wood Elves or even Dark Elves, not as helpful.
I think the trade-off for that is that they have more armor, so they don't die quite as often as Wood Elves do, because Wood Elves die from a stiff breeze. It's kind of appropriate for nature lovers. But the last Wood Elf team I played had an AGI 6 player, and on the very last turn of the game, when they were already 3-1 up, he did a GFI in a greedy attempt to go and score another touchdown, and failed and died. He niggled himself, so he got put in the shredder. Which is kind of amazing.
Unfortunate.
It's kind of amazing. He was just like, well, that's what I get for being greedy. And here we go. This is me just really focusing in on the guard player, because I'm like, that's the one person who could potentially cause me problems apart from the AVI 6 guy.
Ooh, and that is a good use of the piling on too.
Mm-hmm. That's what he does best, old Crump Teeth. He's become a bit of a mincing machine of late. I think he's jealous of Urgoif's success. Because me and Sucky Boy actually faced each other in the first Orc Bowl, and Sucky Boy beat me 1-0. I think I kind of tilted myself going into the second half at 0-0 and just ended up in a big punch-up with a team that has 2 strengths ups, so it just didn't work out so well for me.
See here that B. Hagen is now just trying to encroach on your cage.
Yeah.
Not bad considering he can get most of his team on it too.
Yeah, and this guy, it gives me absolute conniptions because he's so difficult to stop with that additional agility and blodge. So, as you can see, he just sort of ran off, ran in, punched someone, standing there looking all smug. Yeah, still kind of on course. At this point I wasn't particularly worried.
And obviously with the Elves on the other side, no real rush either to move upfield.
Yeah.
You can take a turn or two and not feel too bad about it.
That was a mistake on my part though, following that block.
Yeah, I see you've opened up the cage there without really much to secure it.
Yeah, so this is kind of the potato run. Having a liner with dodge is super useful as well. But
yeah, I gave Rand a little bit of crap for it earlier, but those orcs still have pretty good movement despite the fact that they are orcs.
Yeah. Both down. Get a stun on it, so I got a little bit lucky there. No fouling for Clud this turn, unfortunately, though.
No fouling indeed, and the cage is a little bit open, which only 1 or 2 elves can really get to it, but yeah, this one's a little bit dangerous now.
Yeah. You'll see how dangerous in a minute.
Well, that doesn't sound ominous at all.
Yeah, I was kind of kicking myself a little bit here because obviously with this guy, I actually thought he was going to blitz with him, but the blitz comes from the other side. 1-die pow with a guy who doesn't have block. I was like, really? And then of course catches it and then fails to dodge. So I dodged a bullet, unlike him dodging the fist there. So that was pretty good.
And the extra removal, not a problem either.
Yeah, and I did feel like I'd really kind of got off easy there. I mean, the catch really helped because getting it on a guard piece when there's no one really who outstrengths you on the pitch is not something to be sniffed at. And here we go, Crump Teeth going in again.
Nice little ping pong action to move a little bit more space.
Mm-hmm.
And I see, I'm guessing you're just reforming the cage here with that Black Orc Blitz.
Yep. Trundle it forward a bit. Yeah, funnily enough, my thrower, I think he's scored a grand total of 1 touchdown in his entire career, because he normally gets clattered at some point, and one of the blitzers has to pick it up and score instead.
Oh, I can definitely feel that pain. My thrower is the ball carrier, but also the primary punch target.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the things that they sort of tell you in playing against Orcs 101, kill the thrower, because he's the only one who can even semi-reliably pick it up, even though he's slow, and he also has crap armour, so... It's not crap, it's AV8, but everyone else is AV9. Look at this, look at that obscenity.
And that's some elf dodgy nonsense right there, and there goes the scatter.
When he did that, I was just like, really? It's going to be that kind of game, is it? And then the failed catch was alright. So I wasn't too sad, but yeah, it was like, that was the definition of elf BS.
Though I'll give him some credit, he marked up your players pretty nicely to the point where there was 0 assists helping out there.
Oh, for sure. This is really unfortunate for him. Badman was like,
hold on now, I didn't know that you were elves.
Yeah. Badman was just like, that's my days. Get off. Zog off. And yeah, Orky interception. So he may not score a lot of touchdowns, but he is very dear to my heart.
Now it's just the point of clearing all these elves off, because now you've got to get into a bit of a scrum.
Yeah. Which, again, I wasn't too worried about, given that my boys are a lot bigger and stronger. And
3 turns, 2 rerolls.
Yeah,
should be plenty of time.
Exactly. Good stun there as well. Bork and Oglock. Not Oglock, sorry. Oglock's the one who has block. Bork and I think it's Odzog. Might be Odzog. It might be the other one. Let me check. It's not Odzog. It's Bork and Gothrock have been on 5 out of 6 SPP for donkeys now. Bork has actually been on 5 out of 6 SPP for 6 games. So I'm desperate for them to level.
That's a pain. You're just waiting for that one, just random pass or the one injury just to help them out, and nothing doing.
Yep. Yeah. So Gothrock got a MVP about 3 games ago, and Bork, believe it or not, actually has a injury and a touchdown to his name.
So bold move by Behagen to stand up as catcher. I'm going to channel my inner Audrey here and say, did you surf him?
You will see. As you may well have noticed, I did really quite want his kind of thrower dead. So
I mean, you're only attacking him almost every turn, so...
I mean, not quite as much as I wanted the Agi up guy off the field, but enough that... enough that he became a bit of a target. So,
right. Though removal game-wise, you're already doing pretty well. You've nearly taken off half their team off the pitch.
Yeah, and here comes the surf.
Ah, there we go. Nice little trip into the crowd.
Who then injure him? Because they really are violent. This crowd.
Yeah, and nice little side cage there with just 1 lineman to deal with.
And in goes the foul again.
And now it's officially more than half his team.
That is officially a dolphin noise, by the way, that name. We discussed it. I said, I've fouled that guy like 3 times and he won't go down, and then he finally goes down. And he was like, yeah, it's the dolphin in him. He's got dolphin skin, he's really strong. So he goes for reroll on the blitz there, just gets the push, and then this, I think it was a bit of a mistake on his part. I think if the dodge had gone off there it would have been alright, but one of my things that I do enjoy doing is what you're about to see. Oh no, wait, this isn't that one. I thought I was going to blitz with the ball carrier, but I didn't this time. I just hit him with with the really nasty guy. Yeah.
Both work though, because safe play
Yeah.
gets the ball carrier away, and the free zone to the score. Look at that.
Yep, and that was Bad Mad getting a level up as well. So that was a nice little bonus.
Yeah, all in all, I'd say that was a pretty good drive, barring the small cage error that you came back pretty quickly from. You did your job, removed him off the pitch, and got the ball upfield.
Yeah, I'd say so. It was a kind of a never punished thing. So I'm going to switch around to face B. Hagen's Elves, so that I can see them playing up the field. This is an interesting one, because I'd kind of thought, well, I've scored on turn 8, which is what I wanted to do. I left the Black Orcs up and the Chevrons up because one turning does exist. I'm not entirely sure he would have been able to, but I didn't want to take the risk.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how's your one-turn defense?
Yeah. I think it's the opening of the next half that's kind of an interesting thing to talk about, because it was kind of like going in, I had kind of a game plan for how to defend as well, and I think it actually came off pretty well. And yeah, so we just get nice weather, nothing particularly interesting. It's a good kick though, because it's miles off. Sort of a little fortunate there. I'm really tempted to take a kick on a lineman, even though people keep telling me it's a really dumb thing to do.
If you can control where the ball goes, I would argue probably not the dumbest thing ever. Quick vanity pass there. My mentor's been telling me Rand is the real Rand. I gotta clarify. He's been telling me that kick is the most underrated skill he thinks there might be in Blood Bowl. So I'm not one to argue. I've seen it put into play pretty well, and not having it scatter halfway across the pitch out of bounds is never a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm kind of... I hate touchbacks, and I hate having a kick go somewhere that I'm really not prepared to deal with it. I would, even if it's just to place it just straight down the middle with more accuracy, that's fine. But when you've got a setup like B. Hagen's got here, I got lucky in that I kicked it into the area with no elves in. But, you know, being able to choose to do that, I think, would be a really handy thing, and would make doing things like defending against potential one-turns a bit easier.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so I changed it up a bit here and put the lineman on the line, unfortunately for Clud, because Clud was like, but I can't foul anyone if I get punched over. Blood, with his dodgy ability, I played a friendly against Dimmy earlier, and he survived 3 blocks from like 2 Chaos Warriors and a Beastman because of dodge. So I will not hear a bad word said against putting dodge on anyone. It just means it's much harder to knock them down. Got a touchback, which I was like, grr. But
and there's where kick would have been handy.
Yeah. But here we go. This was kind of my plan being put into motion here. I knew he had to come at me, so my intention was to force him to come at me. I think I did pretty well with it, really.
Yeah, he's already tucking the thrower back just to make sure that he doesn't have any of your orcs rushing him down.
Yeah. And
looks like he's trying to bait you in.
Yeah, with the speed of the orcs as well, if I overcommit anywhere, then I'm in trouble, because he just runs around the outside and scores. So my kind of mental post-it note was, do not overcommit.
That's a pretty sound strategy. I'm surprised he didn't find a way to take more blocks than he did.
Yeah. This is me just sniping here.
Oh, that poor 1/6 SPP lineman didn't even deserve that.
Yeah.
And then I see you're just quickly adjusting, make sure you cover off the sidelines, and no deep threats.
Yeah. And then put a little bit of pressure on with the kind of excess players.
Yeah, the other thing I've been told vehemently by my mentor, make sure that elves always roll as many dice as possible.
Yep. Yeah. And I think with the Black Orcs as well, being as slow as they are, you're not going to use them as cover, so you're better off just chucking them up forward and using them like walls of spam with eyes.
Right. Though I see that the lack of block on some of your black orcs are not paying off dividends there.
Yeah, it's the unfortunate thing. Like I said, Bork especially is terrible for it. Bork normally ends up getting knocked out at least once a game.
I'm almost wondering if you just should give that guy some thick skull, make sure he doesn't go out permanently.
It's so tempting, yeah. So yeah, rather than blitzing with Crump Teeth here, I decided it would be better to use Crump Teeth as the safety, because he's faster than anyone else, and basically anyone who gets near him gets murdered horribly. So that's why.
Yeah, with the Mighty Blow piling on, that is a dangerous weapon.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm very glad I have it on Teddy too.
So Donkey Teeth got stunned the last turn, and then just gets injured off the field in this turn.
I'm surprised B. Hagen's talking to you after this little crumping of his elves.
It was a bit mean. It's also worth noting he hasn't got a single removal on me yet, and I still haven't used the bribe.
And you're still also 2 men deep on the bench, but looks like he's now setting up a little bit on the right side.
Yeah, which I was trying to get him to commit to a side, so I kind of succeeded in my purpose here. Although I did get a little bit kind of nervous about the amount they'd committed compared to how much I had that could get over there fairly easily. So I kind of do a readjustment in a second, and kind of just scramble people across. But yeah, the bench is essentially my backup Cluds. So once Clud gets sent off, one of them comes on and just starts fouling people anyway. So that's what they're there for. But Clud's normal modus operandi is to foul the most valuable player on the opponent's team in like turn 2, get sent off, then get replaced. That's normally what he does. So this is a very rare game for him where he's still on the field like in the second half.
That's a very interesting move by his thrower. I'm surprised he didn't move it closer to the kind of screen side, but I guess he is just leaving both options open as you are continuously removing his pieces.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of snowballing here. I mean, we're looking at 3 injuries and 1 knockout at the moment. And like I said, he's barely managed to knock any of mine down, let alone injure them or come close to injuring them.
Yeah, it hasn't gotten much use out of block or wrestle for that matter.
No.
As you now clobber his wrestle piece down.
Yeah, I think the wrestle does either has come in handy or does come in handy in a bit. But yeah, there we go. There's the wrestle. So wrestle does drop the blitzer there. But yeah, you can kind of see that my coverage isn't so great on that side at the moment. So now he's finally committed. I feel like now is the time to start pulling everyone in and just punching his elves. So he potatoes here, which I think was a really big mistake. Because, like I said, the safety I have back is my killer piece. Now, this is really clever. He marks up with the AGI guy, but there's a huge gaping hole here in that I can get through, just with a dodge, and I've got rerolls. So, as you will see, this is where it goes really, really badly wrong for him.
Yeah, I'm guessing that he's hoping that 1 mark plus AG3 doesn't quite get you close enough.
Yeah. And I get the POW, and I get an injury. And then, because it's a proper injury, he uses the APO. So that becomes really important in a second. To retain that fact.
I'll put a quick mental note down. And not a bad scatter for you either, putting it up against the sideline.
Yeah, very much so. Although I'm intensely paranoid about Elves, especially that AGI up guy just nipping in there and picking it up. Because they can do that.
And I see you've also just double marked him. That's never a bad strategy.
For all the good that it's likely to do. Because he does just walk out. You like what?
I was going to say, I do like the use of guard in the play there, finally getting up into the 2 elves that you knocked down on the bottom right.
Yeah. Yeah, guard is invaluable. Dimmy was saying that that's the one thing that he really is lacking at the moment.
Yeah, it's not too, I shouldn't say popular, it's definitely popular, but it's not too common among a lot of the teams.
Yeah. So that was his lucky, unlucky scatter, and then he goes in, picks it up, and then tries a 4+ dodge with a reroll, fails it twice. So this is the thing, right? I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, I could try and pick the ball up, but he's given me a clear run in on his star player here, and look who is sitting next to him. So
Yeah, I was going to say, this looks like a prime opportunity for a gang foul.
Don't even need the gang foul. Watch. One dead star player.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And that Apo that was used before, looking a little worse now.
Yeah, literally a turn before. So, what, 2 turns before. On a unleveled rookie catcher. I mean, I know they're expensive, but I actually felt bad about that one, because my intention was just to get him off the pitch. It wasn't to kill him. But he was like, it's fine, but I hope you realise you've created yourself a arch rival now.
Yeah, one mortal enemy coming up.
Yeah. And then, just to sort of compound things, failing dodges again. So, burns another reroll. Like I said, it gets incredibly scrappy at this point. I'm just kind of desperately trying not to lose the ball. Not doing too well of it, because immediately knocks me down.
He's taking a lot of one-die blitzes, too.
Yeah. I guess when you're high elves, you kind of have to. Especially against a team like Orcs.
Yeah, you're not going to outstrength them, that's for sure. And another 3+3+, and just walks right out of it, but AG4 stuff for you.
Yep. Me attempting to pick it up, which was probably stupid, but failing twice, drops it right at his feet.
And of course, with Elves always lurking, that looks like a pretty easy 3+ pickup, and then just dodge on out.
Mm-hmm. And double fail.
Well, I guess I can't expect everything from the Elves.
They've got to fail sometimes. That's the way that I always look at it. If you keep them rolling dice, then they have to fail sometimes.
And a good scatter for you too, putting it right back in your orc pack.
And then, just to add insult to injury, I'm just going to pile on some more, because that's what I do. Dub skulls. Just because I can. Surf them out on a 1-die pow.
And I'm just going to channel my inner Audrey and just kind of quietly say yes and good job.
Well, the way that I figured it is the less people he has to pick up the ball, the less chance he has of scoring. And then I did the stupid thing of attempting to pick up the ball.
And kicked it right back out to where his Elves have a little bit better chance at it.
Except no re-rolls. He throws a block on a 1-die, gets a skull. That's it. So yeah, that was the game. It was one of my better ones, I would say.
Yeah, that was solidly pretty much in your control almost the entire game, I would say.
Apart from that kind of scrappy ending and that sort of bit of nerviness towards the end.
True.
I do feel sorry for BT Hagen, because his dodges were diabolical for that one.
Yeah, dice luck was not on his side there.
Yeah, so dodges, he got 42 successes and 7 failures, so that's failing about 15% of them, which is probably about right, actually, statistically speaking, because, I mean, what? You're going to roll a 1 every 6 times you roll a 6-sided dice, in theory? So, yeah, that works out about exact. Yeah, some of them were... some of it was pretty nasty, though. I mean, failing a re-rolled pickup with an elf, even on a, what I think it was a 4+ pickup, is still, it's 50-50 either way, I guess. So, but yeah.
Even then, though, some of his dodges, some of his blocks, even those are pretty rough. Just seeing a lot of poor results, if you will, for him, or just
Yeah.
not the ability to knock you down, even.
Yeah, I mean, looking at his statistics, he actually got slightly more knockdowns than he got 6 stumbles and 5 pows compared to 5 attacker downs and 5 both downs. And got to remember, one of those both downs was a wrestle piece.
Right, and I was going to actually say, I don't recall him breaking your armor, but maybe once, if any.
Yeah, I think it was really minimal. He had 20 blocks exceeded, and then no KOs, no injuries, and no kills. So yeah, I really don't recall him really breaking armor very much. I failed twice, 2 armor break fails. Yeah, so really unlucky in that respect. Just couldn't get the removals, and really unlucky in that when the death came in, it was after using the Apo, and it was on his star player. Big loss for that one. I think the sort of making him roll dice meant that he failed what felt like more dodges than he actually did, because to me it was like he was failing dodges all over the place, but I think it was just because they were either important or felt important. So it's kind of
a lot
like
of those
the
also
deception.
Right, and a lot of those did happen almost at the beginning of the turn too.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had too much choice in being able to work any other pieces at the time. So I'm not going to fault his play order. I think he needed to make a lot of those dodges, but a lot of them came quick, came fast, and his turn was over just like that because of a double fail or a choose not to reroll.
For sure, and I think my strategy with that was to try and base him as much as possible, because I knew that being stronger than him, he was unlikely to try and bash his way out of that. He was more likely to try and dodge and reposition as a result of that, because A, it means you can move, and B, if you're throwing one dice all over the place willy-nilly, especially if you're throwing one dice against pieces with block and you don't have it, I think just putting people on the players there helped. Or putting orcs, they're not really people, are they? They're fungus. I think
they're people in our heart.
Yeah. I think that certainly helped. Yeah, so what I would say is my strategy worked out. It might not have done on a different day with different dice, but looking at his statistics in terms of what he rolled, he didn't roll particularly poorly. Like, the failures, really, I mean, if you look at it, he rolled less 1s and 2s combined than he rolled 5s and 6, by quite a margin. He rolled a lot of 6s. In fact, a second highest total that he had was 6s, and then the third was 4s. So, really not bad dice. It was just where those 1s came were where they counted.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, just looking at that game overall, I think you played your strategy to a T. You marked up all those elves, you got your removals, and snowballed exactly how you drew it up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, thank you for joining me for this recap of the game. It's because I couldn't cast it at the time, I kind of wanted to get it on here for completion's sake, even though Twitch being Twitch, it will delete it at some point. And me and you have been talking about, doing some sort of casting thing anyway, so I suppose this is kind of the test run, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
When is your game?
For having me.
Yeah, absolutely. When is your game?
Mine will be at 8 o'clock UTC on Friday. 8 o'clock PM UTC, I should probably specify.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so hopefully that will give the EU audience a good view into hopefully Sucky Boy's demise and not mine. But actually, watching this game over with you actually was good, a bit good of learning for me too, just because I can at least see now how orcs are hopefully meant to be played, and what I need to do and not do to not get punched upside the belt and below the belt.
Well, I've kind of got a kind of conflicted sense going into this game, because way back when I co-cast with Rand yonks ago, I actually put you in the finals, and funnily enough, I put you in the finals against Sucky Boy. So I
do remember that, and I'm trying to live up to it at least.
So in a way, this is kind of my finals. It was Lost Presidents versus Rip Fangs was what I predicted to be the final. Obviously, it's not going to be the final now because one of you has to win and
Right.
go on through. So yeah, I'm hoping it's going to live up to the promise that I gave it all those many weeks ago.
Well, I'll try my darndest to make sure it does, but I do appreciate that faith all those weeks back.
Yeah, no worries, man. And yeah, I don't know who I'm supporting because Sucky Boy is an orc and is European, so he gets those plus points in his favour. But he did beat me, and he has a better star player than mine at the moment. So, and I do like your team. Like, you have some really great players. Got some very lucky rolls with those levels up. And I think, kind of, in a way, you are a human team who somewhat mitigates Sucky Boy's big advantages, which are those ridiculous mutant giant strength pieces. You've kind of got those as well. So it's going to be interesting seeing him play against someone who is essentially more on level footing than other teams would be.
Yeah, and I kind of consider myself to be a kind of jack of all trades coach, but that could end up being my demise here, is that I'm maybe too well-rounded, not specific enough to one strategy or another, and he can pick apart my team as soon as he starts knocking those big guys off the field.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I guess it's the Dimmy principle, in that when you've got those big strength pieces, you really don't want those big strength pieces getting taken off the pitch. So the way that Dimmy plays is, he didn't really quite manage it against Rand, but he protects Butch and he protects Tom Horn at all costs. Like, I played a friendly against him, and Tom Horn barely spent any time in the front lines, and only when he had massive numerical advantage. He was hiding behind people and then nipping out to punch someone in the head and running away again. So yeah, having played Sucky Boy, I think part of the problem for me is that when I played him, it was a while ago, so it was actually before he'd kind of mutated so horribly. So he had Urgoy, who had the strength up. I can't remember if he had a second strength up piece at that point. I think his thrower now has movement up, so he's a bit faster than normal. But yeah, so I haven't really seen him play since. But going on what I remember, he is the epitome of an orc coach. He is super aggressive, super, I'm going to remove you off the pitch, I'm going to surf you at every opportunity, and then I'll score over the remains and rubble of your team. I think it's going to be an interesting match, because I do think that your jack-of-all-trades kind of coaching style may well come into play, because it might make you more adaptable than he is.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to have to do, because I'm never going to win a bash-up match against this team, especially.
Oh no, not at all. Like, I couldn't do it, obviously. So the 1-0 scoreline reflects that. But yeah, I think given that you're the more agile team, it would behoove you to perhaps focus on that aspect of your play a little more, at least in the initial going.
And hopefully I don't get trampled, because just watching you against the Elves, and Elves have just as good armor as I do, that looked bad, especially as soon as your team started removing theirs off the field. And unfortunately, I also have 3 Strength 2 throwers who don't exactly like getting punched very much.
Yeah, being a human coach, I completely sympathise with that one. I had an absolutely horrible game against some chorfs that I somehow managed to win because of a bizarre thing with a misclick. He misclicked and ran past the ball with the hobgoblin instead of across the ball, so didn't pick it up, which was bizarre. So I think I won it just basically on a fluke, but I lost half my team, and like 3 of my best players ended up with permanent injuries as a result of it, and it was...
Yeah, and that's at the very minimum. If I do manage to not come out on top, that's what I'm hoping for, is just to get out with minimal damage done.
Yeah. It's the Murderdash principle. You could win, but you could win with a third of a team left.
Right. And I've already lost plenty of linemen just to them being punching bags, and one blitzer because those darned Kislev decided that they wanted to use him as a footsie ball instead of an actual blitzer. So
yeah, that Kislev team. It's the Kislev team which one was it that you faced? Was it the Acro Battlers, or was it 11 Crazy Russians?
Daka's 11 Crazy Russians. I'm
That's
still holding that against you, Daka, by the way.
yeah, the 11 Crazy Russians are kind of an impressive looking team as well. You know, they're going to be an unholy terror in minors. I use that expression a lot, but they are going to be an unholy terror in minors.
Oh yeah, and I'm looking forward to facing off some of these teams in minors too, especially maybe giving the Predatory Pocket Monster something to think about if I can, match up strength for strength and not die too horribly to the Sauruses.
I'm hoping that if you get that far, then you can give him a good old run of it, because he has been the favourite for a very long time now, and I think Viscardus is brilliant. He's a great coach, but I have a thing about not wanting the favourites to win. So, I kind of don't want him to just kind of get through and do it and then be like, everyone be like, yeah, we knew he'd win. It kind of keeps the drama alive a little bit more. I think this match that I'm going to be casting very soon with Rand, I kind of fancy Audrey's chances,
Yeah, I was going to mention that you got that game coming up next. You've got one of his 3 remaining chances in this playoffs to be knocked out. And I think you're right. Audrey has probably one of the better chances here. Though they're both walking with team values extra cash over 220 right now. So I'm expecting both of them to pick up a few extra pieces before this game starts.
Yeah, and a few little wrinkles, all that kind of thing. The Yeti not leveling, I think, it's a disappointment for Audrey. She's been trying to level that Yeti in the same way that I've been trying to level those blocks and just not getting the results. It could be telling. It might not be. It might not even be a factor at all. But, you kind of want that extra skill on your big, strong boy going in against an absolutely frightening lizard team. I mean, they are somewhat terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. They're walking in with 7 pieces, strength 4 or above. Audrey, to match up, only has 3 pieces. And I don't see any Juggernaut, and I don't see any block on Audrey's side, so it's going to be very tough for her to start playing a block game against, and I don't believe they're too much faster either.
Yeah. One of the things that I really hate against playing lizards is they're so counterintuitive to play against, because apart from the fact that they cannot dodge for Toffee, the Saurus are ridiculously strong and a lot quicker than you think they are. So I am happy to admit I have never beaten a lizard team. I just haven't got the click in my head yet to say this is how to do it. I mean, everyone goes kill the skinks, but I mean you can try and kill the skinks as much as you want. Most of them have got dodge for a start, sidestep on quite a lot of them fairly rapidly as well. So they're basically dancing around your players while the Saurus just come in and batter you anyway. So, you can try and kill the skinks as much as possible, but without the lizard player putting them in harm's way, it's very difficult to actually pull that one off. I don't think I've ever seen a game where anyone's played against lizards where all the skinks have been off the pitch. So
yeah, I can't say that I've seen that either, and I can definitely be maybe unhappy to admit this, but I've also not fared well against lizards, and I haven't even ran against Viscardus's lizards yet. And yeah, that's absolutely true. He's got 4 skinks. He's got enough money to pick up a 5th just to get his team value, or rather his extra gold down a little bit. Yep. One of them, Squirtle, has sidestep, and let's see, he's actually picked up another skill, diving tackle, so that just makes that skink a whole lot worse.
Oh yeah. So I think kill the skinks as a rule of thumb is a really, really good idea. Using it as the actual strategy is a really, really bad idea. Hey Rand, nice to see you, man.
Welcome, Rand.
Rand just popped up in the chat. Yeah, we were just going over my game, and now we're just talking about all the other teams in the playoffs and Kitagaze's chances and so on and so forth. And just saying that both of us actually think that Audrey may well pull off the sort of upset and take this down.
Well, the one X factor she does have also, and both coaches have been mentioning this all week, is Visk this is the one coach I think that he is genuinely terrified to play against. And maybe terrified is not the right word, but he genuinely thinks his chances are almost 50-50 here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the record is that they've played each other 3 or 4 times in various different other fashions, not with these teams, but Visk has never beaten Audrey, which is kind of fun because I beat Audrey in a spin game once, so that means I'm better than Visk. Whey! To be fair though, Visk did absolutely murder my Spin Chaos team with his Spin Chaos team. Admittedly, he was quite a lot higher TV than I was, but it was one of those ones where I kind of genuinely wanted to quit playing afterwards. I think I bitched about it for about 2 days, but he basically just mauled them. It was one of those games where you just watch your players die, and it's just soul destroying.
Now, Rand over here mentioning a couple of good points. Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. As soon as it's going to be a removal game to start, I'm almost certain of it. As soon as one side or the other decides to start getting knocked off, especially if there is an AV bust, there's going to be some snowball effect going on. And it doesn't matter how many skinks Vis decides to throw at Audrey, she's going to pile them up quickly. So I'm sure those guys will be hiding behind the big Sauruses for most of the game. For
sure, yeah, I would agree with that kind of assessment. I think it's going to be a fairly cagey one to begin with, or as cagey as a match with Audrey on one side can be, because she is one of the more aggressive coaches I've ever seen. Rand is saying that he's the only one who's beaten Vis's team. What week was that, Rand? Just out of interest.
And while we're looking at it, I see Audrey has also got a dirty player, so I suspect she'll probably be fouling a bunch too, and she will probably have enough to pick up at least 1 bribe, if not 2, and possibly use the extra money instead of a bribe on maybe something like a babe. I don't think she'll have enough to pull off a wizard, though.
No. I would highly, highly, highly approve of fouling the shit out of the Sauruses. Especially the big scary ones. If you can get them down, foul them until they stop moving. Okay, right. So it was an upstart, so it wasn't actually the predatory pocket monsters that you beat, Rand? Is that correct? It was his elf team, yeah. So, bit of a different kettle of fish. But congratulations on beating what I think nobody is going to be insulted by me saying is the favourite for the championship. Championship? What would we call it? The College Cup?
College Cup, College Bowl, whichever
College
you prefer.
Bowl. Yes, College Bowl. I quite like that, actually. I'm trying to think of a witty, punny name, but it's quite late, and I'm probably saving.
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure you'll have.
Later.
Yeah, I was going to say you're saving it up for Mr. Beer Chugger's stream.
Yeah, lizards and yeti puns just up the wazoo, I'm afraid.
It's going to be a cold day in hell, though.
The fur will be flying. Let's not get into that yet. We'll save that for later.
And I'll be there to watch every pun and every smash along the way. So
it's going to be a really great game, I think.
It will.
Unless something really weird goes on with Nuffle, where it becomes really academic really quickly, which it does happen. I don't know if you happen to see Ornan's World Cup win. It's on YouTube if you haven't seen it.
No, I'll have to go back and take a look at that.
Definitely go and check it out. It's Ornan playing against a French guy whose name escapes me right now. Ornan's playing humans. French guy is playing undead, and by about turn 4, it's pretty much academic. It's one of those ones where nothing is going right for the French guy, and everything is going right for Ornan, and really early on you can see who's going to win.
And sometimes you'll get those games.
Yeah.
That will happen.
And that's a final, where money was on it. I can't remember exactly how much the winner got, but it's multiple thousands. A super impressive computer as well. I mean, the loser of the final got a less impressive computer and a less impressive sum of money. But we're talking about, like, real money and real things. And Nuffle just decided to troll them, I guess. It's like, no, we're not going to make this particularly competitive. I've also just realised...
Go ahead.
Hadn't noticed this before. I'm not sure that this is a common thing, but looking at my screen right now, I'm just showing the front page of Blood Bowl. There appears to be some weird form of mutant skeleton here where they've merged together. So it's like some odd mutant with 2 heads and like 4 arms.
All right, what kind of sacrifices have you been making to Nuffle, and should I be concerned?
Well, I did sacrifice that blodger, didn't I?
Yeah, he got punched real hard.
It was the feet. It was those spiky boots of Grumpteeth. They've claimed many a scalp now, although that is the most impressive one. He's using it to spike his hair squigs. The blood of the elf. Sorry,
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably a mating ritual or something. I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't think orcs mate. They bud. They're like spores. It's really weird.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
I keep thinking that they're not fungus, but they are fungus.
They are fungus, or at least partially fungus. Yeah, Rand, it's not so much a two-head mutation as a two upper bodies occupying the same space mutation. Maybe it's like
A
some
little bit of
weird
Siamese
paradox
action
thing.
going on here.
Yeah. Siamese twins. I think they're skeletons as well. So it's Siamese twin skeletons. Very strange.
Oh, I don't want to think about that anymore.
No, that's super bizarre. Yeah. The thing with this front page is you kind of, when you look at it, when you like analyse it a little bit, there's little bits and pieces here that don't make a great deal of sense. Like you've got the goblin off in the corner there who appears to be filming a desk. He's not filming anything. He's filming.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's a
the
little bit
desk.
behind the scenes there, and not much of the angle going on either. Just catching a lot of desk and a lot of backside.
Yeah, might just be getting a bit of Jim's arse. That's about it.
Maybe that's like the TMZ goblin of the Cabal Vision universe. He's just trying to catch them, wait for something bad to happen, or wait for them to slip up and say something.
Yeah, the paparazzo goblin.
Right.
I'm trying to think of a good pun to make that would work there, but it doesn't really. One doesn't.
I think you
spring
can be
to mind.
forgiven. It's almost 1:30 in the morning, your time, isn't it?
True enough, although I am not going to sleep just yet. And then I will be taking a power nap, a true power nap, and then playing some Pro Elves at 10 a.m. So, long night for me. I wouldn't normally drink coffee this late, but I thought it was probably appropriate for this one. I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm surprised that you haven't picked up an energy drink yet.
No, I didn't buy one. I hadn't planned on playing so early tomorrow, but because of conflicting schedules, it's about the only time that we could find that worked for both of us. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I will play, have a quick 2-hour nap straight afterwards, and then get ready for work. So fun.
Well, busy schedule up ahead then, and I wish you the best on that one.
Yes, thank you
Hopefully
very much.
you'll be still awake, or at least available to see the matchup between myself and Sucky Boy, and hope that this human can not get punched too hard.
I will be at work, but I will be surreptitiously watching on my phone, even if I have to watch with the sound off.
I'll see if I can send a runner then and make sure to keep updates going.
Yeah, awesome. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that game, and I wish you all the luck in it. Like I said, I'm kind of 50-50 split on who I want to win. Part of me does want to see you play Viscardus, though. So,
And part of me doesn't want to see that, so I hope I can do a little bit of damage tonight.
True enough. True enough. And I wouldn't want to say, like, that means that I want Audrey to lose, because this is one of those ones where I think whoever wins, all of us win, because we all get to see a really good match and a really good series of matches. The only losers really are the coaches who go out, and then they go into the postseason punch-up, and then they play me and hurt me really badly, I expect. It was one of those ones where I was like, please not Murder Dash, please not Murder Dash.
Yeah, I was going to mention, as much as we'd love to see one of them go out, anyone going to the postseason punch-up now has to deal with that, and that's never fun either.
Yeah,
There's going to be 4 more good coaches coming into the brawl here.
For sure, and I think it's worked out in that the last sort of incoming bunch, for the most part, have played against other playoff losers. This round coming up, we've got some really interesting games, some really cool games in the punch-up. Rand doing heroes work in aggregating it all this week, so you could see it like properly, see who did what, who got where. Kind of seeing some of the teams take shape for what they're going to look like going into minors as well. So there's some really nice looking teams going in. We've discussed a couple of them. The Angry Russians, for example, looking great. Murtadash's Pangolin Madness look like anyone who plays against them is going to come out a loser regardless of what the final score is, because they're
Oh,
going to
absolutely.
hammer some teams into the ground. And
That was one of my rougher matches in
yeah,
America's A. I got real lucky that I didn't get bashed up too badly by him.
yeah,
I think he mentioned, actually, I didn't even recall this, but I think he mentioned that I actually had more removals than he did, which surprised me.
wow. Yeah, I mean, crazy. But, you're getting more removals than him and you're still coming out of it feeling like you've been put
Yeah,
through a
he
mountain.
still nearly came back to tie that thing, and that was already terrifying enough.
Yeah. Who else would I like to put and shine a little bit of a spotlight on? Oh, the Greenwald Packers. So the Greenwald Packers were in my division in Euros. I actually played them for the last game of the season. They're the ones who got the niggled elf on the last turn. But what happened was they kind of were the front runners for the group before Glockter really came through with his Amazons, who are a scary team. Like, they are a scary team to play against. I was fortunate enough in that I got to play them early. He beat me 2-1, but that kind of a flattering scoreline for me, I think. At that point, I hadn't quite got a handle on how orcs worked, so I was still trying to play them a little bit like humans and was kind of getting caught out by their lack of speed. But yeah, so the Greenwell Packers, I went in against them on the last day of the season, and he took so much SPP off of me that it was obscene. I think he's playing Dark Elves this time round, but he had like a string of maybe 3 games that went really not his way. Yeah, I would agree with that round. He's a very good coach, though. He had a run of bad luck that meant he got out of playoff contention, maybe sort of second, third of the season. But I think part of that was that he had like a really hideous string of injuries come in. I think he's going to be one to watch in minors because he's very good. His players, skill order not great, but his players are still pretty nasty. And yeah, I think he's gonna do some pretty interesting things in minors. Focused with a 3 instead of an E.
Yeah, I'm looking around, and just throughout the college kind of landscape, outside of Dark Elves, the elf teams have not been doing well. They were beaten up pretty badly, and a lot of that does have to do with the fact that elves don't start out very strong. They don't have a lot of the skills, and they're not easy to keep standing. And it really does put the medal to any of the coaches that decide they're going to walk in with an elf team and say, I'm going to take it to you.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because everyone's starting out at that baseline with crappy players, essentially. I mean, there's very few teams that out of the box are, what you'd call super good. I mean, Lizards, Amazons, Chaos Dwarfs, maybe, because of the skills that they get to begin with. I mean, you tackle across the board pretty much, which is pretty brutal on any team that relies on dodging, especially when they're relying on dodging without. Rand is saying that he's surprised that we didn't see more Wood Elves.
And they may be a tier 1 race, and I can't really speak to the tier level of any of the races, but they may be tier 1, but I'm not sure if college coaches, especially if there are a lot of us who are coming into Blood Bowl, almost fresh, brand new, not really understanding a lot of the nuances, I don't know if they can be utilized to their full extent. For maybe a seasoned coach, absolutely, tier 1 race, and they're going to be hard to beat.
I think that's fair. I think also part of it is that batch teams are kind of easier to get the hang of, and therefore I think a lot of people coming into college, because of their lack of experience and not really knowing what they're going to be facing and how multiplayer works and all that kind of thing, they're probably going to kind of default to things that are a bit easier in some respects. The other thing with Wood Elves is I think their lack of armour makes them less attractive, because people are going, oh, well, I'll have players die lots, and this team has to last me X amount of time and what have you. And it's kind of what we've seen with a lot of these elf teams. They've had a lot of deaths.
Right.
So, on the flip side of that, I am now, 1 game into postseason punch-up, and I have lost no players. Like, zero permanent injuries and 0 deaths. The only thing that's come close is I think Bork has died twice but been appoed to no Kaz both times. So
And thankfully not an Apo into death as well, which is seemed to have bitten a few of our playoff coaches.
happened to AIM, yeah. Jack Black, R.I.P. Yeah. I think we've had some pretty interesting moments in college so far with things like that. So we had Jack Black. It's really funny though, because if you've seen the clip of AIM casting that one, he's like, so all Jack Black has to do here is not die, and I'm in a really good position for next turn. Dice goes in, death. He's like, oh dear. And then he rolls it, and then he rolls the Apo, and it just Apos to death. And he's just like, oh, well, he's dead. It's one of those things where you're just like, why did you say that before that block went in?
Yeah, I'm almost sure
Blatantly
Nicole's
gonna
listening
happen.
sometimes. It's just one of those things where she's like, oh, yeah, you got a mic, huh? Yeah, I heard you. You know what I'm going to do next? Exactly that.
Exactly that. Yeah. It's that little feeling you get in your gut where you start someone on a run that's going to end in a GFI and you just know they're going to fall over. I think everyone has that. Everyone has that. They have that little, I shouldn't have done that. Just as they click that button, they know. They just get that feeling in their waters.
Oh, yeah.
Have you got?
And it's fun to watch, too. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It is fun to watch. I was going to ask, have you got any like standout moments from the season that you can remember, either from your games or from other games that you've seen?
I gotta say my season, I think probably some of the standout moments I've had is just some of the ridiculous passes I've made to either tie back up the game or make something happen where I just needed to get something going. Even in the playoff game that I just played against A to Z Guarantee, fantastic game I thought, by the way, and I gotta give not DK, or I guess DK depending on where he's being shown up as, gotta give him a lot of credit there because he had me held down for a good majority of the match, and that just made it into a scrap fest toward the end.
Yeah, it was a great game to watch just as a neutral from the sidelines as well. It was really, really interesting. He's a really great coach, and his unorthodox, low TV, utilising the star players and things like that style. I can imagine that was kind of difficult because it's not what you would be expecting.
No, and Rand and I had talked about inducements in length just to try to see what he would come up with. He came out with a wizard and came out with Roxana, and well, that in the beginning just threw me for a loop as well because it's just like I was not expecting Roxana. I've been game planning all week for Zora.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when that came out and threw me for a loop, it's just like, well, there goes that game plan. I guess I might as well toss that out and just try my best here.
I think the best answer to the question, though, is probably what's going to happen to Sucky Boy. That's going to be.
Oh, that one. Yeah. I did know Star was coming, Rand. That is true. I was at least predicting that, and especially with his just frugalness, if you will, with TV, that was absolutely 100% going to be the play, especially with 400k inducements. It'd be almost, I wouldn't say dumb, but it'd be a very bad tactic, if you will, to go ahead and try to play around with not having a star player with only 11 other Amazons on the field.
Yeah.
As to what I'm going to do against Sucky Boy, that is going to be interesting. I'll put it this way. Because I know I'm not going to outbash him. He's an orc, and both of you now well know that orcs are not exactly the easiest thing to punch.
Yeah.
So that is not going to be my game plan whatsoever. I think I'm going to be going in with a little bit of TV under what Sucky Boy has, so I believe I'll get a little bit of help inducement-wise. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'll be scumming anything, but I think my feet are going to be busy. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. But yeah, so any moments that stand out for you, anything that you remember from anything that's happened that kind of, tickled your fancy? I've got one in mind that I think is an obvious pick for a lot of people.
Between my games, I gotta say having the turn 8 throw to a catcher in the end zone with one person being able to intercept it in the way, that was just a fun moment because it's like, I have to score here to keep this game close. Here's my Hail Mary type pass from passer to catcher, and it worked out. It just gives you that good feeling whenever you get a pass play that works, especially knowing that he's still got a turn 8, and if I mess this up, my catcher's getting surfed.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons that we play this game, this crazy game, because when you do get that thing come off, that one little Hail Mary or, your little last throw of the dice, and it comes off perfectly, or even imperfectly, but it works, you do kind of want to do a little lap around your room with your arms up like you've just scored the winner at Anfield or something. I don't know why I picked Anfield. I'm not even a Liverpool fan. Probably means nothing to you either. I should have just.
I've got a few friends who follow the Premier League, so yeah. I can. I'll let them have a shout that someone mentioned Liverpool on a stream of Blood Bowl.
Well, I am a Brit. It is what we do. My brother's a Liverpool fan. The scum. But yeah, so like for me, I think one of my favourite moments, just in terms of like a little snapshot of a thing that happened, was Hubster versus Lone Scrub. So it was Saurus Showdown versus the irrepressible Invincible Isotopes. And Lone Scrub blitzed Hubster's Ogre with his Croxigor, and the Croxigor got a both down, and the both down went in, and the Croxigor died, and the Ogre got injured off the field.
And that epitomizes Blood Bowl, really.
It really does. So we were trying to work out exactly how it happened, and I think the best that I could come up with is that the Croxigor tried to bite the Ogre as the Ogre punched the Croxigor, which meant that the Ogre basically crammed his fist down the Croxigor's throat. The Croxigor died, and then they could not remove the Croxigor from the Ogre, so the Ogre had to go off.
Oh, and it's moments like that make this so great, because it's in a way it's almost like chess with a little bit of betting on it. And the best part is, unlike chess, it's not academic. You're not going to get a straightforward answer to everything that happens. You're going to get a little bit of luck thrown in. You're going to get a little bit of dice luck thrown in. And at the end of the day, the best you can do is laugh at it. As long as you played a game that you feel confident was as best as you could play, and you still get diced, it is what it is, and that's just how it turns out.
I saw an absolutely superb clip that was submitted to the sort of finals of the clipping competition on the main Discord server. Hubster's Croxigor Ogre thing is one of the contenders for that, but the one that I think will win, and much as I love that clip of the Croxigor and the Ogre, this one genuinely made me laugh out loud, was a troll throwing a goblin, missing the landing of the goblin, but throwing it straight into the face of a high elf player, injuring the high elf player and knocking the goblin out. Which is just one of those things where you just go, this is the only game where that could happen. I do wonder, because the press release and everything that came out about Blood Bowl 3 was that Blood Bowl 3 was going to be based on a new version of the tabletop game that's due to come out next year. Apparently, GW pulled that press release, got cyanide to pull that press release because they hadn't announced.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some pretty angry people over at GW.
Yeah. So I do wonder if we're going to lose that element of just random chaotic stupidity. And I wonder if, maybe it'll be a better game and it'll be more competitive and less based on random chance. But will it lose kind of some of its charm? I do worry about that.
Yeah, and I do appreciate the fact that they are trying to balance the game. It isn't always fun to be able to play that one team that's just like, I love to play them, but to be honest, they're shit. Yeah, and so it's one of those things where it's just like, I'm glad that they're trying to look towards making some balance out of it, but you're right. If it starts losing some of the charm and some of the randomness that happens and some of these stupid plays that we get that are just joyous beyond all belief, then it won't be Blood Bowl.
Yeah, we'll take the soul out of it a little bit, I think. And yeah, like, I know that the tabletop version, they have nerfed Clawpom already. So Clawpom is way less killy than it is in tabletop now than it is in this game, because the...
Not that I mind that too much.
Yeah, because Clawpom is... If there is one thing that is truly overpowered in this game, it's that. And I can completely understand people taking it. I don't fault anyone for taking it. It's a brilliant combination to have. But
and if it's there, use it.
For sure. This is not an argument against it. It's just an argument to say that you end up with pitch clears of teams that have taken, in some cases, months to build up, that then it kills the team. You know, your team is dead. I think that's the problem with it. Like, if it was something that only really affected that one game, it would be less overpowered. But I think Clawpom's power does have a tendency to sometimes attract some quite toxic people to that team, to Chaos, or other teams that can use Clawpom.
Right.
Because you do get a kind of player who wants to play the strongest, most powerful, most killy team. That's fine. You do also get the kind of player who is so focused on winning that they spoil the fun for everyone else, the kind of power gamer. I've had first-hand experience of this because there was one in another league that I play in, and he basically just managed to alienate everyone. Nobody really liked him anymore because at one point actually, because they'd finished a season and then were being seeded into divisions for another season, he pitched a fit because he was put into a higher division than he wanted to be in because he wanted to farm weaker teams. I think when you are that person, I don't really want to play with that person, you know what I mean? I wouldn't want to play them in tabletop of any kind.
Yeah. And I understand that fully, and actually it brings up a pretty good point, though. Where do you draw the line between having bad manners of kicking your other opponent when you're down versus, hey, I'm trying to get some points here, I need my guys to be stronger so I can face the next big guy down the line? Because we saw that a little bit, and this may be more opinion piece, especially as we get closer and closer to game time between Vis's Lizards and Audrey's Norse. But we saw in Audrey's game, it went to overtime, and she handily had the ball secured.
Yeah.
And you saw play after play after play. That Yeti was blitzing on in, trying to murder and maim as many players as possible. So it kind of brings up a good question of where do you draw that line between, I understand this is Blood Bowl, that's going to happen, versus, all right, you're just being a bit obsessive about it. Can you let my team live so that we can both play on?
I think for me, when there is no discernible advantage to what you're doing to yourself, so where Audrey is concerned, leveling that Yeti was really important for her going into the next game. So she didn't manage to do it, but had she managed to do it, it would have been perfectly justified, even if it had caused an issue for her opponent, because there was a defined benefit to her doing that. So I would see that as all fair game. Where I would draw the line is turn 16 fouls, for example. You don't get any points for those. All you're doing is hurting the other person. Really, really good example of it actually is I am a huge fan of tabletop Necromunda, and they released the Arbites gang. They're not called Arbites anymore. They're called Palanite Enforcers, and one of the Palanite Enforcers skills that you can take for one of their characters does absolutely nothing to give you any benefit. All it does is screws your opponent over post-game. And it's like the worst skill you can imagine. Because, yeah, okay, maybe you can justify it by saying, well, it's a campaign, I'll have to play them again at some point. If I can gank their best player, then it makes it easier for me in the long run. But all it does is, people refer to it as the lose your friends mechanic. Because you are, you know, so turn 16 fouls for me are the same thing. You know, you may have to play that person further down the line, but at that point in time, your team is not going to improve by turn 16 fouling someone, so you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, and a lot of it does have to do with the fact that we are playing online against each other. This is a game where we're not really greeting, talking, or even seeing our opponent at all. Well, definitely not seeing for the most part, unless they're like Dimmy and put their face on stream. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where I guess we get maybe a little bit removed from the human element of it. And again, this is all theoretical, if you will, but we're getting a little bit removed from the in-person element where we're like, I don't even know this person. Who cares if I decide to run their team off the road or knock them into the crowd and decidedly make half the pitch go away because I've got the ball and I can't.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of fortunate in that actually, in the grand scheme of things, in terms of multiplayer experiences, we actually do interact with each other quite a lot, especially those of us who frequent the Discord more than others. You know, we do have kind of some insight into who each other are. There's quite a lot of us who pop up on streams and things, so we actually do talk directly to each other. I mean, this is the first time that we've talked, but we've talked online, on Discord and so on and so forth, for weeks now. So we don't really forget about the human element in the same way. Like, if I was playing Jim, Jim is Jim with 10 kids, you know?
Right.
He's not Jim the bloke on the other side of the computer playing the rat team. He's someone who has defined characteristics as a person outside of this.
And as much as we'd love to remove that two heads, it's absolutely correct. We know more about Jim. He's not just a player on the other side of the screen.
Yeah, and when I said I felt bad for killing BT Hagen's star player, I genuinely meant it, because I don't want to spoil someone else's enjoyment of the game. I don't feel unjustified in clicking that button to pile onto that player. I wanted that player off the pitch. To me, at that point, removing that player from the field was an advantage to my team, and therefore it was a justified piece of behaviour. If it was turn 16,
and you said to pile on, I'd probably judge you a little bit for that too, to be honest.
If it was turn 16 and the game was essentially over, I probably wouldn't have done it because of the risk of possibly doing that. Yeah, okay, SPP, you can justify it that way, but I might have done if I was like 2 points off of a level. I don't know. I wasn't in that situation, so I can't make the call on my behaviour in that situation. But
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it really all boils down to what your intent was, and if there was anything advantageous to the action in terms of the actual gameplay versus advantageous to the action because I could.
Exactly. That's exactly how I would put it. If there is an advantage to be gained by doing it to your team, either short term or long term, then I think it's perfectly justified. If there is no advantage to be gained by you doing it, the only thing that it will produce is a disadvantage for your opponent, then I don't think it's justified, and I wouldn't do it.
Right, and I should probably also clarify one thing. I didn't have an issue with Audrey doing that. She was trying to get SPP on her Yeti.
Yeah.
She probably needs that against the Lizards, but that was one of the more brutal endings to a Blood Bowl game I've seen, because it was just strictly, there was no chance to meet Mannequin. He played a very good game. But there was no chance of him returning that ball, keeping it out of the end zone. He was just becoming a punching bag for Audrey's Yeti.
Yeah, and I mean, I get that. I think it's a really good example to use in this discussion because it gives us the line. That is probably the line. The line is probably that point. Once you go past that, the blitzing repeatedly with the Yeti to try and level it up at the end of the game when the game is academic.
Or even to take the same example, if she had even fouled once, that would have been over the line in my opinion. But again, that's difference of opinion necessarily, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if you really need to do that, and it doesn't really help you with anything other than make sure he has one less blocker.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, that's where the line's at, I think. Which is a really interesting place to end this at, I think, because I'm going to have to bail because I need to go and use the facilities before I jump on and co-cast with Rand in 10 minutes or so's time. It's been really good, though. I've really enjoyed this, and I'm thoroughly hoping that, if not before the end of playoffs, fingers crossed for that, my work schedule may in fact be changing to make it much more likely that I'll be able to cast things and games and stuff, and I would really love to cast a live game with you at some point. I think that would be really good fun.
Absolutely, and I definitely enjoyed the discussion here as well, and it's just been good talking to you.
Yeah, really
and if
good.
all else fails and we notice that those college coaches just can't step up their game and get a stream going, heck, we'll go back and cover college again.
Sounds great to me. I'd definitely be up for that one as well. We'll figure it out. We'll do the do the transatlantic partnership. It will be like Trump and Boris, but not shit. Not
Speaking of a little bit transatlantic, it looks like Rand's here to kick me out of the booth.
Okay.
No, I would never do that. I got a separate booth that you're not allowed.
Oh, okay. I see how it is. I'll let you guys handle your thing now.
Are you going to start casting, Kitakaze?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to start casting?
For now, I may just stick with the co-commentator role, support, and do some colored commentary, because I found this kind of fun. It's no stress on me. I don't have to thankfully do any setup, unlike poor Gauss over here, who really loves having issues with OBS.
Oh, yeah.
Kidding aside.
My dude, you have an invite to the special channel.
Ooh.
It is the special
Well, thank you
channel.
very much.
Rand's
Now, you know, I
place.
may end up popping in and just saying hi once in a while now.
Do you want to trio cast with us? Do you want to try this?
Hey,
Yeah, if you're up for it.
Yeah.
Okay, let me lock a room at 3 casters then real quick in my channel. just so we don't have people pop in on us, because that has been known to happen.
I do remember a drunken badger at one point. Just
I think
what's going on here?
When it happened, I think it was Reznor or Badger, but Reznor one time was like, "Oh, you're streaming? I'll watch." He didn't realize I was streaming on Twitch, not in Discord. He was just popping on like, "Sup? I'm here to watch." I was like, "Wait, no, please, no."
I'll do my best to provide some good color commentary then, and maybe some. I'll do the Amazon stat tracking for you. I'll be that guy.
All right,
Sounds good.
I'm gonna hop over and start setting up just the doohickeys on that end.
All right, I'm gonna
We'll probably
wrap up
get to
here.
go in a couple minutes. So I'll see you guys soon.
Sounds
worries.
good. And we'll do a quick mic check over there while we're over there.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap up now. Thank you to anyone who joined in. Human Gang is not best gang, I'm afraid, Awesome Aim. They are second best gang. We weren't ignoring you. We were just deep in philosophizing about Blood Bowl. Second best gang after Orc Gang. We're Orc Gang. But at the same point, yeah, Human Gang are pretty good, so it's all right.
You know, I'm almost tempted to say Betrayal there. But I'll let you go. I've taken up a lot of your time.
Not at all.
And-
It's been a pleasure. I will speak to you in a couple of minutes over in Rand's Funtime Happy Land. So thank you all very much for joining us. Double thanks to Kitakaze. It's great to have the analysis of a much better coach than I on my channel for a bit.
Oh, thank you for the flattery.
Statistically, it's true. So yes, I will be playing tomorrow. I will be casting it, and I will be incredibly tired. So that might be quite amusing. I will just trip over lots of words. It'll be brilliant.
And a quick plug for my game. If you happen to be around at 8 p.m. UTC, I will be playing against Sucky Boy and trying to move on to the round of 4.
Lost Presidents versus the Rip Fangs. It was my pick for the final. It's not going to be the final, but it's still going to be carnage. And that's a guarantee. I'm not sure where this is going.
Not. I don't know if I want to die that way.
But it's not going to be carnage. It'll be fine. All right. So
All right. Thank you again for having me.
This is the longest goodbye ever. So, Tulpip, cheerio. What? Much better. I'm trying to just do lots
That's
of
a good
Britishisms. Good night, everyone. Bye. And hello in a minute.
Bye.
Bye.